Thinking a lot about breath right now and its powerful effect on us. And I'd love to just start with some sighing breaths. Laying down might be great. If you haven't laid down yet since you got out of bed this morning, that is a great way to really let your spine decompress and find that more easeful space inside of you. If you're wanting to be seated instead, you're of course welcome to. Just always have something up underneath the butt so that you feel upright. This afternoon daylight that I've got here is pretty bright. I hope it won't make it hard to see me here at the early part of our practice. So I'm going to ask you to join me in sighing breaths, and it's a very intentional gathering slowly through the nose. There's no hurry, there's no timeline. It's just an exploration. Feel where the breath is touching you, and then letting it go through the mouth. And continuing that, you might notice, what is the quality of that exhale? If you've been carrying a lot of tension, maybe didn't even know that you were, those sighs will sometimes come out in a, oh, and that's great, obviously what you needed. But as you progress, just notice again the quality of that exhale, and does it shift as you give your body this chance to let go of any stagnated stress, hurrying, worrying, maybe not feeling your best for any number of reasons. All of that can be kind of stressful and exhausting. And so the sighing breaths are one of our most immediate ways to shift into a state of ease into our parasympathetic nervous system. So inhaling through the nose and releasing through the mouth. If you're quite stuffy, I'm dealing with a lot of allergy stuff right now, and you'll see me wiping my eyes as well. You may have to sip breath through the mouth at times too. That's totally okay, of course. Whenever possible, we return to that nose inhale. Again, it's part of what tells our system, I am well, I am whole, I am safe. And you might continue this sighing breath if it's feeling just really good. That's the goal, by the way, feeling really good. When you are ready to take the breath inside, you'll close the mouth and simply let the breath move in and out through the nose only. And at first, I want to focus on getting everything soft. We'll add a couple of other contractions in a moment. But for now, soften the tongue completely, down towards the base of the throat. Soften the jaw and the back of the neck, inviting space between your upper and lower molars. You might roll your head side to side, talking to that base of the skull where it joins the neck, the occipital ridge. It might feel good also to lift the chin a little away from the throat and even then press it towards the throat, elongating the back of the neck. So this is a time to invite softening and release. Also a time to notice what is there, so that if you've got some things that are kind of tight and crunchy, that you can be gentle with them and thoughtful as we move into more of our postures and our flow. So let's do a few more breaths with a focus on softening, and find, if you can, the gap or pause between the turns of the breath. So there's the active inhale, and then a moment where there seems to be no movement. It's complete. And then the exhale and the pause. I often think actually of waves, whether it's waves like on a big lake, like Lake Superior, or ocean waves, that my breath often feels like that similar movement of the wave coming in on the shore, and it seems to pause before it returns back. So if you're someone who loves being by the water, you could always add that image as a way to stay really attentive to the breath. Imagine that your mouth is spacious. It's as if you could place a delicate flower there and you would not squish it. If this softening is feeling really important, you might just stay with that. But here are a couple of little add-ons. Invitation to take the tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth, right behind the front teeth. Just the tip. The rest stays soft. Invitation to add Ujjayi, great sounding breath. That little throat contraction that requires your breath to kind of move through a valve a little bit. So it kind of slows the breath down. It also tends to bring us more into our core. So it has a lot of benefits. But again, if you find it just difficult or tension building, let it go. I'll remind us all that yoga means to yoke or bind together body, mind, spirit. It's wholeness. So we always want to edit out and edit in to our practice what allows us to feel really present, really integrated. We're not suffering through a thing or waiting for it to end or distracted, which will happen, but we'll bring our breath back. All right, let's do just another round there, finding that gap or pause. And lastly, a tool that supports me in finding that pause is there more? Excuse me, asking of the inhale and the exhale, is there more? We're now going to come into abdominal pumping, and I invite you to join me for a few rounds. We're going to do 3. Definitely do the first round just a little gentler because you don't know what's in there yet today. Gather a long inhale through the nose. Exhaling, empty your breath and hold it out. Do not breathe. Then, with the breath held out, engage your abdomen in towards your spine. And then push it towards the sky. It's as if you're saying, see how skinny I am? Big Buddha belly. And you might feel some stretching happening through the sternum, along the spine, that we're literally massaging our internal organs and the space that holds them. So it can be pretty wonderful. When you need to breathe, let the pumping go. Enjoy a full breath, maybe even a sighing breath, and then come into another round. Long inhale first, exhale, empty, hold out external breath block, and pumping. Maybe you want to speed it up. Maybe you want to deepen the engagement. And of course, when you need to, letting go of the pumping and taking a breath. We'll do one more round like that. If it's difficult for you to get movement in your abdomen, consider putting your hands there as a reference point. So you empty the breath and then you try to draw your abdomen in away from the hands and then push it out into the hands. When that is complete, please bring the right knee into the belly, release wind pose. Feet flex, engage deeply through that left leg and heel. And nice deep breath, bringing belly to the thigh. You might wiggle that leg just a little side to side, bringing a little movement and synovial fluid to the hip. And then invitation to bring the knee all the way out to the right, into your right hand, but keeping rooted through the left side of the body. And then reaching your left arm overhead towards the wall behind you first. So you're getting super long on your left side. Big breath. Nice. And then we're going to cross that knee all the way to the left in spinal twist. Remember, nice alternate is bringing both knees up underneath you in embryo pose. The back arm opens. It might explore space, sweeping a little up and down. And then find a place, please, to pause and cultivate 3 very long, deep breaths. Is there more? Is there more? honoring the pause, the gap in between each part of the active breath. This is wonderful. You're massaging, again, the internal organs, but also all these deep spine supporting muscles that often get really tight from just daily life. We want to create more openness there so we can breathe deeper and be more upright. Last one. And coming back to center, we're going to switch so the left knee is in, right leg extended. Release, wind pose. Powerfully reaching through that right heel. And wiggling that left knee a little, and just be curious, do you feel really stable and centered, or do you get kind of pulled out to the side when you have your knee in? It's just good to notice if you've got kind of that tightness or torque in the body. And as you're ready, we'll bring the left knee out into the left hand. I'm still drawing it up towards the chest or left shoulder. And I'm going to reach the right arm towards the wall behind me. Breathing deep into your long shape. And as you're ready, creating spinal twist. Left knee crosses the body, perhaps joined by the right knee being bent as well. Up to you. And ideally the legs are anchored on the floor, and it's just the back arm and shoulder that might be hovering, floating with the breath. Is there more? Is there more? And coming slowly back, both knees in, and just a little rocking side to side. You might decide to circle the knees a little bit so that your back is being kind of massaged on the floor. And then we'll place the feet for bridge pose, actively anchoring the mounds of the toes and then spreading the toes before placing. Nice engagement of the upper arm down into the earth so you feel a beautiful tunnel under your spine. Inhale, slow, deep, and wide. Exhale, rising with the hips to your bridge pose. So options here. Perhaps you want to really work this upper end of bridge. You're focusing on squeezing the thighs a little so that the knees are staying upright. Maybe you want to come all the way back down and return. If so, make it a very slow journey. That's going to really wake up your back body. Breathing, inhaling and exhaling, slow, deep, and wide. That is the center of the practice. Everything else is optional. And as you're ready to release the hips, I'm going to invite you to cross your right ankle onto your left thigh. And we're going to just hold here with the invitation then to raise the hips. So we're not going to bring it to our chest like we do in reclined pigeon yet. Raise those hips. If this feels pinchy or awkward in that right glute area, a little sciatica or something, then just do a regular bridge pose. And release. Let's cross the left ankle to right thigh. Inhale. Exhale. Rise up. Breathing, noticing. Try not to use your neck to do the work. And slowly down. Good. Switch, cross right ankle to left thigh. This time bring the whole deal towards your chest in our reclined pigeon and rotate a little left. My hope is you're feeling something intense, like a good deep massage into that right glute area. You might feel it elsewhere too, in the kind of IT band, even hamstring area. Let breath massage it. And eventually returning and slowly switching sides. Left ankle to right thigh. Hug the whole deal. Nice and tight. That left knee coming as close to your chest as you can get it. and then rotating a little to the right. So I'm just sort of leaning my lower body enough to the right that I can feel that stretch deep in here into the piriformis. And again, you might feel it in some other areas. The great indicator of whether we're getting a good stretch is if we can breathe into it, right? We want to lean into intensity, but always such that we can breathe into it, that we're not blasting past our edge. And slowly on back. Nice. Take those feet wide, a little horse riding stance, and press those hips up. If it feels appropriate today, go ahead and intertwine those hands in Yoga Mudra, pressing the fists towards the heels. You can always walk those shoulder heads a little deeper towards each other and kind of down the mat. Where does breath travel here? Can you feel a stretch in the sternum space, the ribs? And a slow, slow release. Marvelous. We're going to do one more practice here, a little compression and expansion to get us deep into core and breath combined. And if you prefer to, be doing it in another shape, you can. You can have knees bent. You can have them straight in corpse pose if you'd like. The goal here is to get really deep inhales and complete, as close to complete as we can, empty. So as you're ready, take a nice good breath in. Exhale, draw the belly down, anchor the spine, empty, empty. And this is a great time to wake up your core muscles, even add the perineum and pelvic floor if you can. Press down through the ribs and all those muscles, lower belly. Stay soft in the neck until there's nothing left to empty. Soften and allow yourself to be breathed. Let's do about a half a dozen of those to your timing. Nice slow inhale. Exhale, emptying, emptying, emptying. Is there more? Allowing the inhale. And when you think it's almost complete, sipping in a little extra, finding that last part of the three-part breath. For those of you who might be thinking about three-part breathing here, it's very similar. Good. Let's do about 4 more. Again, your breath timing might be different than mine. Know that this is probably one of the most important things that we can accomplish here. This deep exchange of breath and waking up all of the muscles that activate that breath. So if this is difficult for you, at some point you might decide, if we're doing a pose that doesn't work for you, maybe you want to return to this practice right here. It's never wasted time. So awesome. All right, last one here. Exhaling compression, inhaling expansion. And I'm going to ask you to try and keep that awareness going as we come into our ragdoll. So we're going to come onto our feet. You can spinal rock there however you'd like. Feet are hip width apart, knees bent, torso hanging. You can have your hands on the floor, or if you prefer, wrapped around the bicep. If your back is in a challenge today, you might give it a little support, elbows on thighs. Otherwise, deep compression and expansion breathing right here. If you need to on the inhale, you could give yourself a more open shape. Hands on shins, you could extend the spine halfway up, or just a small lift, up to you. Exhaling compression, belly to spine, emptying, emptying. Is there more? Again, I'm doing a lot of breathing through my mouth today because I'm so stuffy. Not ideal, so if you can get it through your nose, go for it. Is there more? Where do you feel breath filling you? Which muscles are you using to empty the breath? Good. We're going to do one more just like that. And then on your next inhale, please drop the butt into a chair pose. Lower, high, bar stool perhaps, wherever you need to be. Deep breath. Make it organic. Keep adjusting. And inhaling, root and rise up. Mountain pose, arms raised. And then prayer hands at the heart. Check your feet. Again, we want them parallel, hip width apart. That's our stance. So I'm going to invite you to activate your jet airplane arms here. So they are at my sides, palms rotating open, and I'm squeezing a little bit through the upper arms. I'm not trying to get the whole arm in, but if I squeeze a little with that upper arm, I can feel that tricep activate and my side body. Good. Let's do 3 breaths, inhaling, sweeping out and up very slowly. Hello, shoulders. How you doing? Exhaling out and down. Inhaling, sweeping out and up, and exhaling out and down. Again, this is always to your timing. Let's do one more long inhale, out and up. Good. Exhale out and down, and you're going to just slowly release your left foot from the floor. I've got the foot flexed, and inviting you to hinge just a little bit. All right, I'm not trying to go parallel with the floor. Just a nice little hinge. Feel long from your heel to your crown. Good. Then inhale, bring that left knee up, standing crane. Deep breath here. Good. Briefly on your next exhale, just extend that left leg forward. And then let it swing back into your crescent lunge. Awesome. Express yourself here. What's the best version of the pose for your body today? Right? Depending on where your neck and shoulders are at, you might want to keep your arms below the shoulders. Maybe they don't ever want to go up high. Maybe this feels great. Check it out. Again, exploring your legs, making it organic. Let's take one more long inhale and think about sending the ribs forward, drawing deep breath into that sternum space. Feel it rise. Exhaling, transitioning to warrior 2. Back foot plants 90 degrees. Thighs externally rotate, and we're reaching out from the heart. And again, the more you can pulse it, the body loves that. It allows the web, as I think of it, of our tissue to release stored tension from too much sitting, standing, and stagnation. So you add little movements anytime you like. Inhaling, exalted warrior, reaching up, straighten that front leg. And exhaling forward towards our lateral stretch. Elbow to thigh is a starting point. Get those shoulders stacked and the head aligned. Good. Maybe you're reaching up to the sky, or maybe you're going to get that deeper side body stretch, reaching beyond the head. I love this stretch, and I particularly like noticing what happens with deep breath. Right? Just like when we're in Spinal Twist, it gives and takes space. It bobs us like an object on a wave. One more. Exhaling, releasing to your downward facing dog. Remember, if that doesn't work in your body, you can always move forward into mountain and do some standing hip pump. Otherwise, here in downward facing dog, let's find a happy position for shoulders. Maybe your hands are a little wider than the shoulders. Maybe you want to play with your feet wide. Maybe they haven't been wider than your hips all day. Let's give them some love. Beautiful. And then we're going to just come forward like you would into plank. You don't have to go all the way, or you can, just depending on how your wrists feel. And then exhale, press back. I'm just giving those shoulders a little massage, a little range of motion. Good. And then we're going to step forward, or perhaps you're going to jump forward, up to you. Inhale, root and rise. And exhaling, prayer hands. Pause, notice. Softness in the neck. slowly just release your right foot a little bit and then hinge a little bit so the body stays in a nice straight line except for the standing leg. A really powerful flexion through that heel. That's what's working the ham and the glute. It's awesome. And then slowly bring it forward into your standing crane. Abiding breath. On an exhale, extend that right leg briefly. Big push through the heel and then let it go. Step back, crescent lunge. Steering those hip bones forward, that's always a huge part of our warrior focus. And to be strong and stable, we need to know exactly where those hips are. And express yourself. Maybe you're kind of bending and straightening that back leg. You know, sometimes we'll even do nice dips. What's there today? One more long inhale. Again, you might send the ribs forward, always being supportive in the core. Exhaling, open warrior two, Virabhadrasana 2. Pulsing, exploring. Where are you getting some stretches? Where are you feeling strength? Slow that breath down. One more, as slow as you can. Inhaling, exalted warrior, root and reach, ease in the neck, and then forward lateral stretch. Again, elbow to thigh is the starting point. You can always take it deeper if that works in your body. If it pushes your butt out behind, come back up to elbow to thigh. Reaching perhaps just to the sky or then slowly overhead towards the wall. And again, as you breathe into this shape, where do you feel it? I notice a difference, for example, on this side, that when I breathe deep, I feel it way down into my low right abdomen, more than I did on the other side. Long inhale, and then exhaling, transitioning to your downward facing dog. Intelligent hands, strong core, lift that foot rather than drag it if you can. Inhaling, this time come all the way forward to plank, and if being on your wrists is problematic, go to forearm plank. Otherwise, I'm going to offer you a little heat up here. You've got to be in a strong core to pull this off, so make sure you're not swagged. And as you're ready, you're going to lift one hand at a time. You can do a little exhale breath if that kind of helps you do that. Otherwise, I like doing it with Ujjayi. Try not to tilt your body side to side much, although we'll be playing with that later. See if you got a couple more. Whew. And then we're going to lower on down. Good idea to drop the knees for this first Chaturanga. Beautiful. Turn your head to the side. Bring belly breath into the mat. Resting on the forehead, arms extended forward. Again, they could be wider than shoulders. They don't have to be straight ahead if that feels tight in the neck. Anchoring down through pelvic triangle. Inhale, reach through one arm and the opposite foot until they naturally come off the floor. And perhaps your head and chest do a little as well. Exhale, slowly return. Stay long as you descend. Relax a little bit, and then re-engage. Pelvic triangle, inhale, lengthen other arm and opposite leg. Is there more? Exhale, long as you come down. You can always take a break in between, otherwise keep going here. Inhaling, extending. Exhaling, descending. I'm going to do one more full round, right and left. Is there more? That patience with the breath, the curiosity, that's what changes our body and our brain. Now, invitation to extend all four limbs in a Superman, if you will, or if that's too much, bring those arms back into your jet airplane. And release. Plant the hands, anchor the pelvis, and press back to your child's pose. If you're wanting to keep that heart rate going more, you could go straight to downward dog. We'll be meeting you in a moment. Knees are wide, plenty of room for the belly. And then see if you can walk, extend your hands nice and far forward so that the forearms aren't even resting on the floor. And what I find breathing in that shape is I can feel the massage, again, the effect of the breath, way into the lat muscles, intercostals. And this is an area that's really tight on a lot of us and can really impact our ability to breathe deeply. So hoping that's feeling good. We're going to take it to the side, each side one at a time. Lift the head a little first and walk your arms to one side. Settle the head again, deep breath. I find the deep breath wants to lift my head and chest up a little bit, so I'm just giving into that. And then other side. And slowly back to center. Good. Curl those feet under. Actually place them wide so that we're coming into bear pose. And as you're ready, nice core support, send it up and back. Bend your knees as deeply as you can. Nice deep bend so you can get the chest and belly towards the thighs. Good. We're going to bring the right foot forward, right to the outside of the mat. Inhale, rotating open to the right. Exhale, return bear pose. Left foot forward. Inhaling, open to the left. And don't worry if your breath doesn't exactly match your movements. Ideally, we'll pair it, but never let that become a point of stress. Exhaling, press back. Good, nice inhale. Right foot forward again. Inhaling, opening. Is there more? Ujjayi, exhaling, step back. Big inhale here. Exhaling, left foot steps forward. Inhaling, open. Exhaling, release, bear pose. And slowly walk the hands back to the feet. So I'm in a nice wide stance here, just like ragdoll, but the feet are wide. Go ahead and just kind of move your hips, almost like in a little crazy eight if you can. And then inhaling, drop the butt to root and rise. Exhaling, prayer hands. And we're going to step sideways on the mat here. Get nice and long. Go big with your stance. Obviously, if you feel a pull at your ankle or anything, come on in. Otherwise, go as wide as you can. Anchor the big toe, then spread the other toes. All right, we're going to play in triangle. We're doing some nice side body stuff tonight. So I'm going to rotate my right foot 90 degrees. Deeply engage the muscles of both thighs, really. And then I want to make sure that that knee isn't locked. You should see that kind of the thigh muscles contract and it lifts. Good. Cock that right hip. Try and bring the head back in alignment with the spine. And for the first couple of breaths, I ask you to just keep your hands on your hips and explore sensation and getting deep breath in this pose. Feel a long line from your back foot through the crown of the head. Try to have those shoulders stacked. And then if you'd like to intensify, release your right hand and just let it sort of slide down on the inside of the leg. Never support on the knee. If you'd like, again, another level of intensity, add the top arm reaching towards the sky. Much more important that you can breathe here and really receive the breath. One more big inhale. Is there more? Exhaling. Enjoying the pose. And come on up. Good. Neutral those feet and forward fold. I like to bend the knees always as I go into a fold because it respects those hamstrings and your back. Once you're there, if you want to play with straightening the legs, either holding or pumping, go for it. And then as you're ready, come on up. Hands on hips, let's turn the left foot 90. Check that it really is rooted and strong, then squeeze those thigh muscles towards the bone. Cock that left hip. Stack the shoulders. Get that head back into alignment before you begin intentionally going a little deeper. So it's as if I'm trying to power from my back foot through the crown of the head, like I wanted to touch a button beyond me. Perhaps releasing the left hand, perhaps the right. Breath takes precedence. Is there more? And coming straight up like a pulley's bringing you. And then as you're ready, we're going to make a nice big movement, downward facing dog. Step back. Invitation to come into plank. Remember, you can always go to knees for better control. Exhale, Chaturanga, elbows in. Inhaling Cobra, or if you prefer, Upward Dog. Hips are in the air, thighs are active. Exhaling, Downward Facing Dog. Nice deep breath here. Drishti gaze between the feet. Working your heels towards the mat. It doesn't matter if they ever get there. You're just saying hello to the stretch. Nice. And we're going to come into gate pose. So I'm going to plant that right knee in alignment with the right hand. Left foot comes flat 90 degrees so that the back heel is in the same plane as everything else. Squeeze the right glutes towards the left edge of the mat until you see your thigh bone is straight up and down. And then slowly open. So it might be nice to go in stages. Just bring your left hand to your hip to start. Check that you're really using that lower waistline. Maybe you don't even need the floor hand because of that. Then if you want, you add that upper arm. Looking at the sky if you'd like more of a balance challenge, or at the floor if your neck prefers it. And please breathe here. And if balance is a challenge for you, which it is for most of us here, you're wiggling and wobbling, don't hold your breath. Make the breath that slow, abiding, steady thing. Maybe even adding a soft smile to your face. One more long inhale, invitation to rotate your ribs open towards the sky. And then exhaling, return yourself to table pose. We're going to take that left arm and bring it under us and thread the needle. So I'm coming onto my left shoulder. And you might take that right hand and clasp the left wrist. Some people really enjoy that stretch. Wherever you are, deep breath. And slowly return table pose. Inhaling cow, exhaling cat. Is there more? So normally we're trying to do this very slow breath, but occasionally it might feel very useful to do a little bit of a kind of a pumping breath, sort of on your next exhale, invitation to move to downward facing dog. Feet are hip width apart, working the heels towards the earth, welcoming the stretch. Inhaling to your plank. Now you can also just hold downward facing dog or take a resting pose or do more cow-cat. Exhaling slow chaturanga, a little low push-up. Inhaling to your cobra or upward facing dog. No effort in the neck, no shrugs. Downward facing dog. Let's add a sigh in here. Inhale, exhale, ah. Good. Left knee plants directly under the hip. Right foot comes flat. As you're ready, opening up. Again, you might just settle the right hand on the hip to start. Check that your left shoulder's anchoring down the body and that the left waistline's lifting or lower waistline's rising towards the ceiling. Then if you want to release that top arm, maybe looking at it. So you should feel a deep sense of grounding in the floor hand and the back leg, but also that you're reducing weight in that hand through the lift of that lower waist. And a long inhale, opening the chest towards the sky. Exhaling, returning table. And then taking that right arm through and under for thread the needle. Again, you might clasp the wrist and kind of draw your chest back away. Let the breath have room. And returning to your table pose. Inhaling cow, exhaling cat, and in your own time moving into your downward facing dog. Remember, you can always continue in table work when we're in downward dog. We're going to take our right leg flying. Pause, check that both arms are working equally, and there's a lot of core support drawing into the back body, just like you did in compression. Then bend the right knee, and invitation to slowly open that right hip. Check that your floor foot isn't rotating, nice and stable. Beautiful, both arms working. Deep breath. Exhaling slowly forward to Crescent Lunge or Warrior One. Grab that foot and bring it forward if you need to. Back foot is either flat in Warrior or on the ball of the foot in Crescent Lunge. Lots of places to be here. Some of us really love adding a little yoga mudra to this pose, that intertwining, maybe the non-dominant hand, so that the opposite thumb's on top. But wherever you are, please explore the lunge. Again, don't freeze up or hold. Allow your body to soften while being in this position of strength. And you can even add a very intentional dip of the knee if you'd like. So good. And as you're ready, Virabhadrasana 2, back foot plants. Perhaps you'd like to rotate the palms open, warrior with platter hands. We think of this right hand as the giving hand or offering hand energetically. What would you like to offer up to all the people in your world who aren't getting to the yoga mat and you're thinking, oh man, they need this? Deep breath. One more, find the gap. Invitation to bring that back arm around behind in a partial bind. So I've got the back of the hand on my body. And then I'm going to straighten that front leg and reach up like we just did. And then I'm going to return with that platter hand forward. I'm going to do this a few times. If it feels good to be looking up, fine. If not, keep the vision neutral as you reach up. Good, one more. And slowly forward. So see if elbow to thigh is still your best pose, or if your lunge is deep enough, you might find, I can get my hand to the floor without the butt going out behind, or I can grab a block and give it that partial way down. Wherever you would like to be for your stretch, check, again, that pelvis ascending forward, shoulders are stacked, and unwind that back arm. You might just be holding it, reaching forward. You might enjoy circling. Maybe you're opening that chest to the sky as a part of that circle and towards the floor. And as you're ready, let breath and core take you into your downward facing dog. Reduce the swoosh. See if you can lift that front foot. Hiya! And step back. Nice work. Inhaling to your plank, potentially moving to resting or holding. Exhaling, Chaturanga. Inhaling, Cobra or upward facing dog. Powerful thighs, easy back. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Drishti gaze between the feet. Inhaling, exhaling, sigh. Slowly take that left leg flying. Check in with the arms, the core. Yeah, bend that back knee and open it up. Slow journey to your Crescent Lunge or Warrior One. Remember to steer those hip bones forward. Inhaling up. Again, make this organic, your exploration of space and breath in your body. Slow, deep breath, and then transitioning Virabhadrasana 2. I sometimes like to look at my back foot and make sure that the toes aren't squinching up, that I'm not peeling one part of my foot away, that I'm really planted. And then ideally that front knee is directly above the heel. So adjust your stance as you need to. And maybe you're adding platter hands here. This left hand is the receiving hand. So if we're looking for inspiration or blessings of any sort, or if we just want to affirm openness, nice soft breath. See if you've got 2 more breaths. If it's too much for the thigh, just straighten it and return. Breath is easy. And bringing that right arm around behind in a partial bind. If your shoulder doesn't like that, of course, just leave it down or straight back. And as you're ready, join me. Inhale up, Exalted Warrior. You might do that inhale and then exhale, return to your platter hand and bent knee. Continue. And a slow journey forward towards lateral stretch, making sure that back shoulder is starting to stack and releasing. How does this feel? Is it different from the first time you were here? And do you want to add that circling? It's a bit of a balance challenge if you take your head along for the ride. Where do you feel breath in these shapes? What are you noticing? And on an exhale, strong core, downward facing dog. Last invitation for dog series here if you'd like it. Remember, you could always come to your knees and do cow-cat. Otherwise, inhaling to your plank, exhaling to your chaturanga. How slow can you go? Soft neck, tongue, eyebrows, maybe smiling. Inhaling cobra or upward facing dog. You could be on the balls of the feet or the tops of the feet. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Nice inhale, exhale, sigh. And then I'm going to bring us into pigeon. So if you don't like this pose, it doesn't work for knees or low back, if you've got low back instability, I would return to your back body and do the reclined pigeon that we started with. It'll feel different than when you started there. The rest of us finding a place that is comfortable for those joints, and then trying to rest the head, whether it's on a block, fists, or the floor. See inside. See if you can watch the path of breath by the sensation trail that lights up, kind of a breadcrumb trail of information. See if you can kind of press the inhale or expand it down into the pelvis and that right hip. If you need to deepen the pose, you can use your back foot to pull a little bit further back. I'm going to invite you to add a little bellows breath with me. That's just a rapid in and out through the nose. Again, if you're too stuffy, you might just do a little bit through the mouth if you'd like. As you're ready, nice in and out. And you're using your abdominal wall to pump that breath. Again, just like a mechanical bellows. And then a deep inhale, exhale, ah. We're going to come out of this pose by rolling out onto the right butt cheek or hip and bringing that left leg round in front of us, or however you can get there. So if you need to do it another way, go for it. And then I'm going to release both legs in front, just give them kind of a whack, bend and straighten, whatever feels good there, all right? So we're going to do a little balancing pose here, and we're using those hip flexors. We're going to stretch them again in just a minute, I promise. But our work in Navasana boat, which we did in our Yoga Basics class this week as well, is a really interesting opportunity to try and breathe inside of a pose that intensely uses our core. And so it's great training for us as yogis. So I'm going to start with my hands under my knee pits, if you will. And I'm going to use that for support to keep a sense of uprightness through the spine. You should feel the sits bones that you're kind of can rock on. And we never want to give that up into this kind of a collapsed spine, okay? Shoulder heads are down, neck is easy. And then if you can, walk those feet further back. Feel those powerful muscles you use during compression. And then as you're ready, flip those feet up, and you might begin a little bit of a like, whoa, wiggle. Breathe slow, deep and wide inside of all of that. On your next strong exhale, see if you can bring those shin bones parallel to the floor. Keep lifting through the heart. And see if for even one breath you can release the arms, very active and extended. Beautiful work. Release the feet, come on down to your back, and we'll come right up into bridge pose. Invitation to add extension. So you might just be doing a foot hover or that full extension through one leg at a time. We often do this at the beginning of practice. I find it's actually really cool to do it both beginning and end to notice how your body has gained stability and strength Hoping you're feeling pretty good. But this is a great time to notice if one hip is dropping, then we need to know that we have one side that's not firing up the way we need it to. So we're going to come into pigeon on the other side, and this is another way to get there. I'm just going to roll out onto my left hip and then use my hands to come into that placement of my hip bones facing the floor, or you're on your back bottom, right? And slowly down, elbows, fists, or all the way to the floor. Again, you might use your back foot to pull a little bit back. If you feel any joint discomfort, return to where you were. How slow can you make the breath here? In your own time, when you are ready to come out, come on up, roll out onto that left hip, bring that right leg around, release that left leg, give kind of a kick, whatever feels good. All right, and we're gonna come into our supported pose with the block under the sacral triangle. If that doesn't feel good to you, using something folded up and soft might. Otherwise, you can just join us in corpse pose. But you're going to plant the feet, lift the hips, place the block so that it's not at all in the lower vertebrae. It's right on that bony triangle at the top of the crack, okay? And then you're going to give your weight to it, and it should feel really good. Kind of, again, like a deep massage or someone's tractioning that low spine for you. You could explore extending the legs. Sometimes that feels marvelous. You get an additional stretch into that low belly. But if it puts pressure on your back or something kind of uncomfortable, then return to where you were. Deep, deep breath. Letting it rise all the way up the torso. So if you have enough attention to add here, I'm going to bring us through just a little awareness of three-part breathing. So you've got your hands on your low abdomen, and for the next 3 breaths, invite that breath in under your touch. Nice long inhale. And of course, if the block gets uncomfortable, just take it out and join us in your breath attention, just flat on the floor. The second stage is that diaphragmatic breath, and it's right here where the ribs come up together at the xiphoid process. And inviting breath in under your touch. And again, at any point if the block's not comfortable, come back out. And we'll come into that third stage up into the clavicle breath. You'll notice that in order to feel the breath up in this upper chest area, it really will show up first in the other 2 stages. That's how the breath works. It goes into the lower lobe of the lung, then rises up and eventually fills that upper lobe. And you're just there, attention, waiting for it. And then invitation to do at least 3 breaths. Maybe you'll be there doing more because you loved it. But at least 3 breaths, stringing it together. So you'll move through those 3 stages in each inhale. It goes pretty quickly. Just gather a regular breath. Don't think about it. Exhale, empty as completely as you can. And then inhaling, invite it into low belly and so on. And exhaling, empty. Continuing, following the trail of the breath with your attention. You're witnessing. And I'm hoping you got to experience just really wonderful full breath. And you could feel it in all three of those areas. If not, then this is your chance to know or learn that you have difficulty getting breath into one of those stages. And it would be a beautiful thing to practice. I did do a tutorial on Dirga Pranayama, or three-part breathing, that you could refer to as well. But often just touching those areas will really help bring your attention. I'd like to close with one more breath practice, and you could be doing this in corpse pose. You could be coming up to seated position. You could be in embryo pose if you'd like. So please take the next few moments to just get comfortable. Maybe you want a shawl or something to cover with. Get cozy. We're going to be simply doing our breath locks, our internal and external kumbhaka. And I want to point out that the goal is not to hold as long as possible. The goal is to hold while softening around it. And when that's no longer possible, then we move to the next part of the breath. And it doesn't matter how long they are. It's the being present in our attention, noticing subtlety that's so powerful here. And learning how to kind of seduce or coach ourselves into relaxing around the various sensations. Okay? So as you're ready, just first take a regular inhale. And then just a regular exhale. You're not compressing out every drop, just a regular exhale. And hold out. You might have just the tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth. And notice the initial instinct to breathe. See if you can hold just past that. Asking, can I soften around this in the lung space, the neck, the tongue, the eyebrows? When you need to, breathing in, observe the inhale rising in the body, and then hold in, internal breath lock. Again, inviting a softening in the face and the neck and the chest. Scanning those areas, asking, can I soften? Can I relax? Holding past the initial instinct to let go if you can, because it's just kind of an autopilot instinct. See if you can soften and allow more. And then when you need to, let the lock go. And let's do that one more time on your own. Just a regular inhale, exhale, holding out. And then as you're ready, inhaling, holding in. You might be able to notice that the sensations of holding out are somewhat different than the sensations of holding in. Right? The holding out is a vacuum. The holding in, our breath is stretching us from the inside. And so often people report that one is more comfortable for them than the other. So just know that you would not be unusual if that's the case for you as well. But I often like to say that this breath practice, the breath locks, is a wonderful place to practice softening around discomfort, right? So that we become better in life off the mat, in moments that might make us contract or tighten and hold. We notice and we see if we can melt around the experience. Very, very powerful, very empowering, and very health-giving, because then we are breathing slow, deep, and wide for more of our life. And that's a great thing. Inviting you to place your hands perhaps on belly and heart space. Really tuning in to this amazing internal world that you have been both directing tonight and listening to, and that is doing thousands of functions on our behalf quietly. If you're feeling deeply relaxed and you sense that you could settle in for a long yogic sleep, please do. These are precious moments after our physical practice. If you're going to be getting up off of the mat shortly, I invite you to consider with what energy would you like to return to the flow of life out there? What do you need? What do you want to receive? What do you have to offer, wish for, give? I thank you so much for joining me at the mat today, for your deep attention into your own system. It always changes something, many things usually, for the better. Really grateful I got to be here with you. Namaste. Om Shanti Shanti. Om Peace Peace. We'll see you again soon here at the mat. I look forward to it.